When it comes to cruising, sometimes we hear comments just like this. Well, yeah, I'd like to take a cruise and travel just like you. But when it comes to where to start, I haven't got a clue. Need a clue? We've got 10. Welcome back to My Travel Window. My name is Ken. My wife and I have had the privilege over the last 10 years of traveling to every state in the United States, to traveling to about half the provinces of Canada, and to 15 other countries. In this channel, we want to show you what is possible and to offer you this challenge. If not now, when? Today we're going to focus on 10 resources to help you find the best cruise, plan it the best, and experience and enjoy every part of it. The first question that most cruisers would ask is, how do I pick places to go? Second question is, once I figure that out, how do I sort out all the cruising details, the ships, the cabins, the insurance, the options? Question number 3, how do I find the right itinerary and book it? That would include the issue of selecting a travel agent. Number 4, once I pick a cruise, how do I get the most out of it? And the last question, which is particularly relevant in the pandemic, how do I keep up to date before I go? Question 1, where to go? It's a wide, wonderful world, and sometimes the hardest part is knowing where to start exploring it. Resource number 1 is a venerable one, Rick Steves. Many of you may be familiar with Rick Steves from either his guidebooks or his travel videos on PBS. You may not realize he has one of the most complete travel websites anywhere for travel to Europe. As you can see here, almost any destination there is covered in detail, and there's hundreds of other resources. For many years, Rick shunned the cruising market, but in recent years has decided to embrace it. In addition to finding information on the website itself, he has 2 travel guidebooks specifically geared to the ports in Europe. Our next trip will be to the Baltic. The book shown here is specifically geared to cities routinely visited by these cruise ships. Most of our stops are listed in this book, and we plan to purchase this and use it as Rick suggests by cutting it up and taking into port just the pages that apply to that port and using them for research. Resource number 2, Walter's World. Now, while I really like Rick Steves, his websites are slick, buttoned up, and tidy. And often I want that. In fact, usually I want that. He projects enjoyment of travel, but it's kind of like the wiser older brother telling you how to enjoy it. Walter's World is the exact opposite. This is your ponytailed, hippie younger brother who's excitedly telling you his first-hand experiences on each location and why you want to go, and the 5 things to make sure you do or don't do while there. In real life, Mark Walters is a college professor who travels the world with his wife and younger kids, and occasionally his mom. Watch only a few and you'll claim him as a friend. And he goes everywhere within the U.S., to Asia, and South America, in addition to the places Rick Steves would go. The Walters World YouTube site has 4,000 videos, over 800,000 subscribers, and almost 200 million total views. So he's not exactly any younger brother that I ever knew. He releases 2 videos every week. In addition to the YouTube channel, he also has a webpage, waltersworld.com, which helps find videos and gives written summaries as well. Question 2. How do I sort out the best ships, cabins, cruises, options? This is all about the process of learning the nuances of cruising. For this question, nothing beats full-time cruise vloggers. At the time I do this video, there's only 6 full-time YouTube vloggers who have more than 100,000 subscribers. These tips will include 4 of them before I'm done. But to answer this question specifically, I would recommend 2 of these. First is resource number 3, Tips for Travelers. Gary Bembridge is a mature British vlogger whose site is called Tips for Travelers. At about 250,000 subscribers, his is the largest YouTube cruise vlogger channel, and there's good reason. He's been at this since 2005, has a library of answers to the questions people most want answered, and has videos that are well researched and edited. He also has a website where he publishes the schedule of upcoming trips and other interesting information. Searching his YouTube site for cruises you might be interested in is especially helpful. He also does a good job of comparing cruise lines to figure out which cruise lines and which cabins you would like the best. Resource number 4, Emma Cruises. Like our previous pairing, Emma is the opposite end of the spectrum. While Gary brings veteran experience, it's Emma who brings the delightful youthful enthusiasm. A fellow Brit, like Gary, Emma started cruising as a child and brings energy and a verve, I guess, to the show. Younger, she focuses more on saving money, but covers the gamut of thrifty lines like MSC, lines targeted to younger audiences like Disney or Virgin, as well as comparing British lines to their American counterparts. Her most popular videos are a couple that she did on river cruising. Very well done. Question number 3. How do I find the right cruise and cruise option? So now, after you've worked through to this point, you've picked places you want to go, and you want to find a cruise that matches what you're looking for. Let's check out 2 of my favorite resources for this. Resource number 5 is Vacations to Go. There are a dozen or more major cruise websites that offer search engines for how to find the ideal cruise. So in this example, I'm going to show you how we selected our cruise in the Baltic in the summer of 2022. On this screen, you can see all the options I selected. This resulted in a list of 21 potential cruises. We looked over all the pros and cons of each itinerary and finally selected a Norwegian cruise, in part because we had some credit for a previously canceled cruise. We used Vacations to Go as our travel agent also, so we called our agent, whom I'm happy to recommend for anyone that asks. While on the phone with her, we selected our cabin using the deck plans also on the site, so we're both looking at the same info at the same time. The site also has ship details, room pictures, even average temperature of ports during the cruise. Resource number 6, Cruise Watch. This site has a search feature similar to Vacations to Go, but it starts with the greatest number of options and lets you only make one selection at a time, and then it narrows it, lets you make another selection, narrows it. So it takes longer, and I don't like that quite as well, but you might like that feature. What I do like is the detail it gives on each ship and the ability to set a price alert. If you do the free sign up, they'll send you an email anytime the cruise that you're monitoring changes prices, and it will give you the history of pricing and the likelihood of changes upcoming. It's a very nice feature. It also has a section for the highest discounted cruise at the moment. We've not done this yet, but have been tempted more than once. It also gives a very good section on user feedback on cruise ships, what they liked, what they didn't like, what is particularly appealing about this ship. Before we go to the next question, I'd like to take this opportunity to invite you to subscribe and to like this video. Subscribing and liking are ways to tell YouTube that you find the information interesting, and it raises our visibility so that other people find us. So we really appreciate it, and thank you for your help. Question 4. Once I pick a cruise, how do I get the most out of it? Resource 7, Cruise Critic. Cruise Critic is a full-featured site that helps you search for cruises and also collects cruise news. But to me, its best feature is something called Roll Call. The site creates message boards for every major cruise. So when you sign up, you have your own personal chat room with other people on the same cruise. It's a great way to get suggestions for what to see in ports or join groups that may be formed to do excursions. You can share as much or a little personal info as you want, as your identity is hidden behind an alias. We are still 6 months from our cruise, but this site has been going and had people communicating back and forth about details of the ship, of the cruise, and asking about each other for several months already. As we get closer to the ship, or closer to the launch date, the activity will increase significantly. Resource number 8, the tour guy. When you're looking to explore a city, it helps to know the details on the city, which is where fellow travelers come in, like Cruise Critic or a professional guide like Rick Steves. But sometimes what I want is a more local guy who's just excited about the place and wants to take you with him on a walking tour to discover it. My favorite of these is a YouTube site called The Tour Guy. Before we went to Florence, we watched his video on how to see the major sights of that city in a day. We based our choice of lodging on the places that he suggested were good places to see, and it was one of our best choices ever. We wound up seeing the places that he recommended that we would not have seen otherwise, and it was well worth it. If you're going to a place that he's reviewed, you'll almost assuredly find some kind of gem that you would never have found otherwise. He is really fun. Last one, question 5. How do I stay up to date on cruise news? Prior to 2019, this question would have had far less weight. But for the last 2+ years, the cruising landscape changes daily. So I'll leave you with these 2 sites. Both of them do a daily cruise news blog, and they're, in my opinion, the 2 best in the business. We've watched them both every day for months. Their shows are typically about 8 to 10 minutes long, and we learn something new pretty much every time. Resource number 9, Don's Family Vacations. Don Terrace is a travel agent from Canada who's been on more than 100 cruises. Those feature news that come from the cruise lines, from his customers, from his own experience both as a travel agent and as a cruiser. He's low-key, boy-next-door genuine, and he grows on you if you watch regularly. The last one, resource number 10, La Lido Loca. Tony is a former IT guy whose wife is a travel agent in Florida. Like Don, he also gives daily news, but has a little more showmanship about him. He does a great job of scouring out news, presenting it in an entertaining format, and sparking debate about what people think of each new wrinkle. He and Don are good friends, and they exchange some friendly banter back and forth in their shows, occasionally doing episodes together, and occasionally cruising together. There you have it, 10 resources for you to try out. As we said in the beginning, if not now, when?